Your companion is not lost, and he's not deviated. Who is it talking about? I was talking about the Prophet ﷺ. There's so many things to dissect here. 3 words: lost, companion, and deviated. We're going to dig deep into words in this series. And this will help you with the rest of your Quran study also, because these words come everywhere, right? So I want you to learn something about Quran vocabulary today. Okay? Something all of you need to know. Arabic is not like other languages. Arabic, a word has a meaning, and then it has something called secondary meanings. Okay? You know how you have like the main dish, you have the burger, but it also has the ketchup and the mustard and the mayonnaise? Well, every meal comes with some ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise, and that's all part of the overall flavor, isn't it? So what happens is, words in Arabic have a meaning, like dhalla means to be lost, but it has some secondary meanings, and you have to keep those in mind to really get an idea of what the word means. So there's primary meanings and secondary meanings, okay? For pretty much every word in Arabic, it's like that. Primary meanings and secondary meanings. Now, when you read an English translation of the Quran, what are they giving you? The primary meaning. What are they not giving you? The secondary meaning. And sometimes you have 2 different words that have the same primary meaning, but they have very different what? Secondary meanings. But when you're reading the English translation, you can't tell them apart because they only gave you what? The primary meaning. Which is why studying vocabulary carefully in the Quran is very helpful, because Allah uses very precise words. So we're looking at the word dhalla, to be lost, and we're going to look for the secondary meanings. The white box means what? Who's this for? It's for me, but I'll give you something at the end. Now, dhalla shay'u khafiya wa ghaba. Dhalla means for something to hide and disappear. Forget about lost for now. One of its meanings is something gets hidden and something that disappears. dhalla al-ma'u fil laban. When the water gets mixed with the milk and you can't tell that water was ever there. It looks like pure milk. That's the dhall of the water, because it got lost and hidden and mixed in. Adlaltul mayta dafantuhu. When you bury the body, bury the animal or bury the person, and now you can't tell that there was even a grave here, then you've done idlal of it because you can't tell the dirt from the person underneath it. So ghayyabtahu, you made it disappear. Similarly, they would say water, sometimes there's a rock, but underneath it there's water, right? But you don't even know there's water underneath because it's covered by the rock. They would call that kind of water dalal. They would call it that because it's hidden. It's disappeared. It's not seeing the eye. Similarly, if they saw rocks in a valley that nobody's ever seen, I'm sure there are rocks in that valley, those rocks would be called daladil. So the word has a lot to do with being hidden, disappearing, mixed in. These are some of the secondary meanings inside this word. ضللت الدار إذا لم تعرف موضعهما. If you were going to my house and you couldn't find it, Google lied to you, and you're at a McDonald's or something. You're like, you live at a McDonald's? No, I don't live there. Oh, I'm dal. I was meant to be at A, I ended up at B. That's actually dalal also. You ended up at the wrong location. By whose mistake? Your own. When you end up at the wrong location, on your own. Finally, ضل الشيء يضل ضلالا أي ضاع وهلك. Dhalla also means for something to go to waste. Something to go to waste, or something to die, or someone to die. Like, ألم يجعل كيدهم, you know it? ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل, from the same word. He put it to waste. He wasted it. So being lost, disappearing, and being wasted, and dying out. And finally, كثير التتبع. رجل ضال كثير التتبع للضلال. A person who's gullible, you can easily mislead them. That person is called ضال. Anyway, here's what I want you to know about the word lost. The white is the primary meaning. The yellows are the secondary meaning. Okay, that's going to be my format. The white is the primary, the yellow are the secondary. So when 2 things appear as one, like the milk and the water appear as one, or the dirt and the dead body appear as one. Remember those examples? So when 2 things become one and they appear as one, when something's wasted or destroyed, and when someone's gullible. These are the meanings of dhalla. So what does it mean for the Prophet ﷺ? Allah is saying your Prophet is not confusing truth with falsehood, presenting them as one. His speech and the Quran, the speech of Allah, are separated. They're not mixed together, because part of the meaning of dalal is what? Two things become one. This is not his speech, this is God's speech. He's not mixing them together. He's not a lost cause. They're like, oh, you were the smartest of us, you were the most honorable, you were the most reliable business person, and this prophet business you started, it's such a tragedy. What a person we lost. What a waste of a talent. Kunta fina marjuwan, like for another prophet it was said, we had such high hopes in you, you know? No, he's not lost. You're the ones that are lost. You're the ones that are wasting away, not him. And then the other is, oh, he's as good as dead. He keeps this up and he's gonna get what? Killed. Keep this up, one day you'll make us angry enough, we might just kill you. Yeah, no, he's not the one that's gonna get killed. He's not the one that's gonna get destroyed. Also, he must have come under the influence of somebody. Somebody must have told him to say this and he just fell for it. Somebody convinced him he's a prophet and now he thinks he's a prophet. That would be that he's gullible. All of that is being denied in what words? Ma dhalla sahibukum. Ma dhalla. Now let's go to the next word. Ghawa. I'll come back to sahib, but I want you to understand ghawa. Ghawa, actually, really interesting word. I'll go through this rather quickly. Ghawi is locusts, the swarm of locusts that come in the desert. Al-basham min al-laban, when you have very overwhelming indigestion, that's also called al-ghawa. Really strong and like you can't move and your stomach's like going crazy because you have, it's actually lactose intolerance. Min al-laban, right? So that's what it's referring to, strong lactose intolerance. Then anything that covers and hovers over in the dark and it becomes invisible, overshadowed. So ma sataraka bi dhalamihi, that's also called aghwa, from the same. When people, you know, back in the day, the Arabs used to ambush each other, like they used to hide behind rocks and the guy's coming by and they all jumped him, right? So when they jumped him, they would call that taghawu, from the same origin of the word. So ambushing and running over. Are you noticing a theme for all of these? Locusts hover over. The darkness hovers over. The pain overtakes the person. The people gets overtaken by an ambush. You see that? So this word has a lot to do with what? Being overwhelmed, being overcast, being overtaken. Fine. Then ardun mighwat, when somebody gave you the wrong directions and you ended up in the wrong place. But then this word has some really cool meanings. One of my favorite meanings in this. They used to make a hole, a ditch in the ground, and they used to take one of the baby goats and throw it in the hole. Okay? The Arabs made a deep hole, throw the goat in the hole because they have a wolf problem. So now they leave the goat there at night. What's the wolf gonna do? Gonna jump in the hole, and now they got the wolf. Right? So they trapped the wolf. That trap was actually called an ughwiyya, from the same origin, from the same word. So now we've got the meaning of a trap or an ambush and overwhelmed. And then Ibn Ashur adds فَسَادُ الرَّأِي وَتَعَلُّقُهُ بِالْبَاطِلِ, when you have corrupt opinions and your thoughts are overrun with false ideas, that's called ghawa. So what do you need? Oh, you got a lot to write down. You must just take a picture, it's okay. This is gonna hurt your fingers. But yes, ghawa means deviated, but it has to do with locusts and indigestion and overcasting darkness. All of that you can summarize as just being overcast, you know, and corruption in thought. But now let's get to what is it that is this ayah is saying. Now we know two words, dhalla and ghawa, being lost and being deviated, but the deviated has to be overwhelmed. He's overrun. You know how they said he's taken over by a jinn, right? He's possessed. Or his mind is overtaken by insanity, or someone else is controlling him, he's overtaken by somebody else. All of that is inside ghawa. Or he's just confused on his own, that's inside dhalla. And if he's setting a trap, if he's a poet and he's just using his poetry to make himself famous, or if he's just, you know, a magician and he's just using his sorcery, he's setting a trap for us, that's inside ghawa. You see? So both of those kinds of allegations are coming inside these words. So now the thing is with dalla, it's unintended. Like it's as if the Quraysh are saying, poor man, he just lost his marbles, he lost his sanity, you know. It's such a tragedy, he's gone to waste. And with ghawaya, it's like it's deliberate. It's on purpose that he's trying to misguide them. Now Allah is denying both of them. He's not a lost cause and a tragedy, and he doesn't have a secret hidden agenda to misguide you. However, basically the entire population of Makkah at the time, except for those who believed, were either dalla or ghawa. Either they were lost and confused, or they had an agenda to oppose Islam. It's not he who's got dalal and ghawaya, it's you who has it. Ma dalla sahibukum wa ma ghawa. But then, this is where things get really powerful. Isn't the imagery of the star falling beautiful? The star coming down and revelation coming, and the stars correlating with you know, the Quran and the speech of Allah. Those correlations, it's very beautiful. Ayah number 1 is very beautiful, and ayah number 2 talks about something very ugly. Your companion is not lost, he's not deviated, he's not crooked, he doesn't have evil intentions against you. All this ugly stuff right after something beautiful. So there's a strange contrast happening between beauty and ugliness here. Why is that there? This is the last thing I'll share with you now for this session, and I'll give you a break. The word sahib in Arabic, ashaba, actually has to do with moss. You know what moss is? And like algae and moss and, you know, fungus and stuff like that. It becomes part of the wall. From it, they developed the idea. Or also sahab or mushib actually is the hair on your skin. Now, what does moss and the hair on your skin have in common? They're stuck to you. They're a part of you. They're not quite you, but they are you also. You understand? So it's separate from you, but inseparable in some ways. A sahib is someone who is very close to you. You guys know, many of you know each other, but you know each other from work. You know each other from the masjid, but you don't know your personal lives. You don't know your fears, the things you like, your dark side, your light side, your humorous side. You don't know everything. You know a glimpse of another person. Some people are married to each other and they don't know each other. Some people have children and they don't know their kids. You understand that? The idea of a sahib is someone so close to you, you know their ins and outs. You know everything about them. You know what they're like. The thing is, celebrities, right? They look a certain way on the screen. They look a certain way when they're performing, whether they're athletes or politicians or intellectuals or actors or whatever, right? They're a certain way. And people see them and they're like, can I take a picture? I love you. You're the best. You're amazing. You know, all of that. But you know who hates them? Their neighbor. You know who hates them? Their driver. You know who hates them? Their spouse, their kids, their siblings, their family, their cousins. The people close to them, they hate them. Their co-workers, fellow actors, they hate them. Why? Because they know a side of them that other people don't know. You understand? So public figures, they have this, like, what you know about them. You know some things about me. You don't know the inside. You don't know the private life. You don't know my emotions, my fears, my anxieties, my weaknesses. You don't know any of that because you're not my what? Sahib. You're not my sahib. Now, when Allah calls Rasulullah sahibukum, He says to Quraysh, your sahib, a person who has lived with you, who has laughed with you, who has cried with you, who has worked with you, who has had family with you, he's married among you, he has connection, he's done business with you, he was raised among you, you've seen his youth, you've seen his childhood, you've seen his adulthood, you've seen every part of his life. How are you going to do him dirty like that? Like sahibukum. He didn't say here, ma dalla Rasulullah. sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He used the closeness to the Quraysh and said, look at how beautiful this revelation is. And it came to the most beautiful human being. And nobody knows this man's beauty better than you. And you're saying this about him? How are you saying this about him? How can you make either of these claims? You knew more than anyone. He's the smartest person among you, the wisest among you, the most reliable among you. You don't know. If you had a secret and you needed to get advice from someone, you wouldn't think of anyone else but him. If you had a problem and you wanted somebody to solve it, you would go to him. If you had something you couldn't trust anybody with, you would trust him. And you're going to say about him, ضَلَّ غَوَى? Come on. مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى. It's such a powerful statement. It's an ugly claim, but Allah is actually, within that ugliness, He's highlighting something beautiful. That your ugly claim falls apart. Forget even whether you believe in the revelation or not, or the star or not. The fact that He's your sahib and you know better is the ultimate proof. That itself is the ultimate proof. SubhanAllah. مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى. One way in ilm al-ma'ani you can do it is there's three kinds of speech. Speech to a neutral person, speech to a doubtful person, and speech to an opponent. Neutral, doubtful, and opponent. Kalam ibtida'i, kalam talabi, khitab ibtida'i, khitab talabi, and khitab inkari. That's the balaghi terms, but who cares? What did I say? What are the three kinds of speech? Neutral, doubtful, opponent. Okay, so what does this mean? If I say, you and I are taking a walk and I say, the weather's nice today, you're not an opponent. I didn't have to do any extra layers in my speech because you're like, yeah, it's nice. Because you're neutral. Okay? Hey, so what you doing nowadays? Nothing? Okay, neutral speech. There was no intensity in the speech. It's normal level. Then there is doubtful. Hey, is the class starting today? No, the class is starting tomorrow. No, is it starting today or tomorrow? If somebody does that, what are they? Doubtful. And when they're doubtful, you got to add a little something to get rid of their doubt. So you say, no, it's definitely starting today. I added what word? Definitely. So you added one extra stressor, one extra emphasis. So for neutral speech, you need no emphasis. For doubtful speech, you need one emphasis. Somebody says, the class is not starting today. It's starting 3 days from now. And you say, listen, stupid. Wallahi, I'm telling you, the class is starting today. What did you do? You said stupid to stress the point. You said wallahi, because you committed a sin and then you remembered Allah. And then you added definitely, and you slammed your hand. You needed more than one stressor. When do you need more than one stressor? When you are talking to someone who disapproves or rejects they're an opponent now. They don't agree with what you're saying. You understand this? This is the basic, the building blocks of balagha studies. When you're reading the Quran, is there zero emphasis? Is there one emphasis? Or is there more than one emphasis? And that might tell you, is Allah talking to a neutral audience or a doubtful audience or an opposing audience? But this is the building blocks. Then it gets more complicated, because if you're super good at this, you might be talking to somebody who's opposing you, but you're talking as if they're neutral. Like somebody says, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to destroy you. And you're like, you're not. And you're totally calm. You know what that is? You are so confident that they have nothing, that you don't even have to respond to the opponent as an opponent. You're responding to them as if they are as much a non-threat as a neutral one. You understand? So you could mix and match sometimes for special reasons. But this basic dichotomy of neutral, doubtful, and opponent is very helpful, and it's a big part of the study of the Quran, because through it we get a lot of meaning of how is Allah communicating. Remember, the same strands are there, right? The same concepts are being presented, but how are they being presented? Who are they being presented to? This is important. The reason I brought that up is the word ma and the oath in the beginning are double stress. Allah is talking to opponents. From the style of the speech, it's clear that Allah is talking to who? Opponents who are saying he is lost. He has an agenda. He's got dalal, he's got ghawaya, or he's got ghay. That's who they're claiming him to be. And he's responding with an oath, which is already a stress. Wan najmi idha hawa, then ma dalla sahibukum wa ma ghawa. There's a two ma there, right? And it's not lam yadilla sahibukum wa lam yaghwi. So because lam is not extra stress, but ma is. And then wa ma yantiqu anil hawa. Now, and the common translation of this is, he does not speak from desire. The common translation is what? He does not speak from desire. We're going to tear that apart. We're going to go a lot deeper than that in order to understand this. Yantiqu, first of all, is used for eloquent speech, well put together speech. It comes from the secondary meaning. It is tightening something or gathering something together, gathering your thoughts together, gathering words together. Every word is gathering letters together. But when you coherently gather your thoughts and words and ideas together, then it becomes nutq, coherent speech. So that's the word nutq. This is a side note about it. And he doesn't speak, and he never says anything based on what we said desire so far, but we'll dig into desire later. One more beautiful iltifat. This is Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi. We love Razi in our team, rahimahullah. So I'm just going to read this to you, and I'll translate it because he just deserves it. So ma dalla, what he's saying is, dalla is past tense. Wa ma ghawa is also past tense. But he didn't say wa ma nataqa anil hawa. He says, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. For those of you who know even a little bit of Arabic, that's mudari', isn't it? So ماضي ثم المضارع. فالالتفات بين الماضي من الماضي إلى المضارع. He switched from the past tense to the present. Why did he do it? وصيغة المستقبل في قوله وما ينطق في غاية الحسن. He says, and using the future tense and the present future tense, all of a sudden is extremely beautiful here. أي ما ضل حين اعتزلكم وما تعبدون في صغره. And because he's saying he wasn't even lost when he was a kid. He wasn't even lost when he was small and you were worshiping all those idols. He's never been lost. His entire life has never been, not even after becoming a prophet, he's never actually been misguided. And he's never been on the wrong path. ما ضل صاحبكم وما غوى حين اختلى بنفسه ورأى منامه ما رأى. And so at this time, and the time that he saw the angel and the revelation came, even then he wasn't lost. And وما ينطق عن الهوى الآن حيث أرسل إليكم وجعل رسولا شاهدا عليكم. And even now when he's speaking and he's been sent as a prophet to you, as a witness over you, even now he is not lost. And so this is from then to now, as if Allah is saying his past is proof of the truthfulness of his present, right? The character of the Prophet ﷺ speaks for itself. His track record speaks for itself. And that's the evidence that's being presented. فلم يكن أولا ضالا ولا غاويا وصار الآن منقذا من الضلالة ومرشدا وهاديا. He was never lost anyway, and now, more than not being lost, he's a guide and protected from misguidance and guiding others towards the right way. So that's just from the present tense usage of the word. Then there's an interesting discussion among the scholars about this ayah. Does this refer to the Quran, or is this talking about the Quran and the Sunnah? Because it says he doesn't speak from desire. Right? He doesn't, and the next ayah is going to say it's nothing but revelation. That's all it is, it's revelation. So does that mean it's only revelation when the Prophet ﷺ is reciting the Quran, or everything the Prophet says is revelation, or is the answer even something else? The first thing, we're going to look at the early commentary. So this is from At-Tabari. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ مُحَمَّدٌ بِهَذَا الْقُرْآنِ عَنْ هَوَاهُ. He's saying, and the ayah is saying that Muhammad does not speak this Quran from his own feelings. ما هذا القرآن إلا وحي من الله يوحيه إليه. The Quran is nothing but revelation from Allah that he's giving to him. So Tabari's opinion is, what's this ayah talking about? The Quran. This ayah is talking about the Quran specifically. Qatada, an Qatada. There's a ayn missing. أي ما ينطق عن هواه قال يوحي الله تبارك وتعالى إلى جبريل ويوحي جبريل إلى محمد وعنى بقوله وما ينطق عن الهوى بالهوى. Well, that's a separate issue. He's saying here, he doesn't speak from his own feelings. Allah gives to Jibreel, Jibreel gives to Muhammad ﷺ, and Muhammad ﷺ says what Allah tells him to say. So it's not coming from him. That's the point. So again, the indication seems to be they're thinking this is talking about what? The Quran. Okay. Then we get to Ibn Ashur, rahimahullah, a more contemporary scholar, the author of At-Tahrir wa Tanweer. What does he have to say? وَنَفْيُ النُّطْقِ عَنْ هَوًى يَقْتَضِي نَفْيَ الجِّنْسِ مَا يَنْطِقُ بِهِ عَنِ الِاتصاف بِالصُّدُورِ عَنْ هَوًى سِوَاءٌ كَانَ الْقُرْآنَ أَوْ غَيْرُهُ مِنَ الْإِرْشَادِ النَّبَوِيِّ. This is Allah denying any involvement of hawa. We haven't defined hawa yet. Any involvement of what they translate as desire, there's no involvement of it in the Quran or anything else in which the Prophet ﷺ is guiding people. But he adds a clause, guiding people. So I want you to understand this properly. We have to distinguish between the role of the Quran and the role of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. I know we use the phrase Quran and Sunnah all the time, but this is an intricate issue that I want you to understand some things about it at least. There are instances in the life of the Prophet ﷺ where he took a decision when no revelation came. He just made a decision. He decided to free captives in Badr. Right? We freed them. Then revelation came. Why did you free them? They should have been executed. The question is, Allah could have revealed before to execute them. Allah chose not to reveal it, and then He let them go, and then He revealed it. Right? What's the point of doing that? The point of doing that is to show that the Prophet ﷺ makes his own decisions sometimes. And the only one that has the right to correct him is who? Is Allah. Because even though he's the Prophet, he's still at the end of the day a abd of Allah. So Allah will do that. At Tabuk, when Mecca was conquered and we were about to engage with the Roman Empire, some hypocrites came to the Prophet and said, we can't go to battle. It's too much fitna for me. I'm just going to end up getting married on the way. So I can't do it. Can I not go to battle? Because, too many women are interested in marrying me and I'm just not going to make for a good warrior. I'm a lover, not a fighter, basically. Is what he said. And the Prophet ﷺ said, stay home. And if I was the commander of an army, I would ask the guy to stay home too, because that's clearly a liability on the battlefield. Why can't we all just love each other? So it's a good military decision to keep that guy at home. He's going to disrupt, he's going to cost lives on the battlefield. Allah afterwards revealed, "Afallahu anka lima adhinta lahum." May Allah forgive you. Why did you give him permission? Right? Now, in those moments, did the Prophet ﷺ give him permission based on revelation or based on his own decision? It's clear he made his own decision. Right? He made his own decision. Now, there's other instances. You have the Prophet ﷺ asking the Sahaba to set up their camp, the military camp at Uhud. He picked a place. And the Sahaba said, is this from revelation or is this your opinion? The Sahaba asked this question, which means the Sahaba are very clear that they also know that sometimes the Prophet ﷺ is expressing his own opinion, other times it is revelation. And then he said, no, this is my opinion. And they said, if this is your opinion, then we dare disagree. We think this is a better position. That happened. The Prophet ﷺ came from Mecca, described famously as Wadin Ghayri Dhi Zar', a valley that has no vegetation. He comes to Medina, people are growing dates, right? So he sees some, date growing practice that's a little strange to him. He asks the planters, why do you do that? They say, so we get a good crop. He says, I don't see the point in doing that. They thought this is revelation from Allah. They changed their farming practice. There was no crop that year. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, you told us this. And he said, Antum a'lamu bi umuri dunyakum. You know your worlds better. I was just saying that. Like he wasn't giving them revelation. So the distinction of Ibn Ashur here is really valuable. Why is it valuable? He's saying when the Prophet ﷺ is giving spiritual guidance, religious advice, the distinction between right and wrong, that is never based on what? Hawa. That is not based on hawa. That's not based on empty feeling. But then hawa is also interesting, deeper meaning of the word hawa that I want you to know. Al-hawa is actually emptiness. Between any empty space is called hawa. A coward is also called al-hawa, jaban. لأنه لا قلب له فكأنه فارغ. It's as if the guy has no heart. It's empty inside the heart. There's no courage inside his heart. So he's called a coward, a hawa. A bottomless void. Like one of the names of hell is Hawiya, right? فَأُمُّهُ Hawiya. Because it keeps going and going and going. It's bottomless. That's فَأُمُّهُ Hawiya. And falling to a lower place is also hawa. And from it we get the meaning of love, actually. I don't like the translation desire or hawa. The closer meaning is actually love. It's actually love. But it's different from hub. So what's the difference between hub and hawa? Hub is used in the Quran in good ways, positive ways, positive and negative. But you have, in kuntum tuhibbun Allah, fattabi'uni yuhibbukum Allah. If you love Allah, if you love me, follow me, and Allah will love you. If you love Allah, right? So love is used in great ways in the Quran, the word hub. But the word hawa is actually used for lower loves, animal loves, empty loves, whims, things you love that don't really have substance and meaning. Like, for example, I love this TikToker. That's hawa. I love that song. Oh my God, that's hawa. I love Messi. That's hawa. Okay. There's loves we have that don't have substance. They're empty within. Those are called hawa. They're whimsical. They're not substantive. There's no depth to them. The Prophet what is being said about the Prophet ﷺ is he doesn't let temporary feelings, moods, appetites, he doesn't ever make a decision based on them. He doesn't do this at all, and he's not doing this right now. Ma yantiqu in ma'ani and nahu could also mean as we speak right now. This is not his feelings talking, because the previous ayah was what? Your sahib is not lost, he's not corrupted. No, this is not him defending himself. This is not him, oh, he feels bad that you call him these things, so he's defending himself. This is not coming from him. This is coming from who? It's coming from Allah. وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. Because if somebody insults you and you decide to defend yourself, that doesn't come from someone else, that comes from you. But now Allah is saying, no, even that is not coming from him. He's not defending himself, I'm defending him. It's very beautiful inside the meanings of وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. By the way, hawa is a kind of love that overtakes the person and empties them of all other feelings. Afterwards, I'll tell you, take from me, inshallah. Now, this is Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi again, talking about hawa. He says, وَأَحْسَنُ مَا يُقَالْ فِي تَفْسِيرِ الْهَوَى أَنَّهَا الْمَحَبَّةِ لكن من النفس يقال هويته بمعنى أحببته لكن الحروف التي هوى تدل على الدنو والنزول والسقوط منه. He's saying, yes, hawa means love, but its secondary meanings have to do with falling and being low. So it's loving lower things, lesser things. And when someone loves things the kind of love they have is hawa, it makes them a lowly person. And the Prophet ﷺ is not a lowly person, and so that's not what is associated with him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ibn Ashur on the same word, ميل النفس إلى ما تحبه أو تحب أن تفعله دون أن يقتضيه العقل السليم الحكيم. This is really important. He says hawa means you love something and it's irrational. Like you can't explain a good reason, and you're actually denying common sense to love it. Stupid love is hawa. But I love it. Why? I don't know, I just do. That's hawa. I can't explain it. That's because it's hawa. Oh, these voices, I work on them. This is part of my preparation for the lecture. So the idea of hawa is, the Prophet ﷺ is not, he never desires something without it having meaning. Of course he desired to marry Ummahatul Mu'mineen, but it was never based on something empty. There was always a purpose behind things that he loves. This is a really interesting statement about our Prophet ﷺ. And we talk so much about being like the Prophet ﷺ and taking inspiration from him. Maybe we should take inspiration on curbing hawa and I need to check in myself. How many hawa departments have I opened inside my heart? Like things that I'm loving and I'm obsessed with that have really no substance. And I have no logical explanation except I like it, that's it. And in fact, it's even harmful. It's even harmful. And that's the question you and I have to ask ourselves.